special, where all the villains are just super.
Kaiser, please, have some class.
Holy shit, Kieran? AKA Lord Moonstone, cornerstone of TFS Gaming and Undertale speedrunner?
One and the same, gentlemen. I'm taking time away from my busy schedule of building Gundam models and violently whipping one kids to talk to you guys about the villains of Super.
Okay, but where's Taka?
Talking about the villains of Super is complicated. While there have been a plethora throughout the first 70 episodes of the series, 2 of them were actually featured in the latest Z films, and one of them is Frieza with a tacky paint job. As for those wondering why Super is not being covered, let us make our case.
It's not over yet. A huge part of some of these characters have been their effect on the franchise as a whole, and as of right now, it's too close to the ball dropping to see how high it'll bounce. We just wrapped up the Goku Black arc, and honestly, Beerus' character in Super is different enough from Battle of Gods to warrant a separate analysis, at least in our eyes. Feel free to flood the comments below with your disagreement while Kaiser rolls his eyes and keeps editing Broly.
Firstly, there will be spoilers about the villains of Super. If you are not caught up by the time of this recording, either close this video and go to Crunchyroll, or wait for its upcoming run on Toonami, or deal with the consequences. Second, Beerus and Frieza are both on the full list. While the latter was a given, the former has been of debate for some viewers. I bring this up because we can't talk about Super without discussing the effect that it had on both of them.
As not to languish too long on future entries, let's keep it short. The interpretation of Beerus within Super's continuity differs in subtle but significant ways that paint his character quite a bit more malicious than the original film. In Battle of Gods, we're not subject to the finer details of his craft. It's merely implied, though completely believable, that this Catman can Catman do the job of blowing the planet to smithereens before you can say Cat loves.
The first time you see Beerus in Super, he destroys half a planet simply from distaste from one dish prepared for him. He's not nearly as forgiving nor fun as we immediately see him at Bulma's party. While Super gets there eventually, it doesn't depict Beerus in an empathetic or at least understandable light. He feels much more like a villain and less of an antagonist for the heroes, and it's unfortunately to his detriment.
And his apparent ennui that is implied during the battle with Goku never really amounts to anything, and merely drags him down from being the fun yet threatening villain that charmed us in the films. It really just left a bad taste in my mouth.
And while the Goku Black arc provides us with the fantastic moment where he personally eliminates Zamasu, the rest of the arc paints him as borderline incompetent. Then again, the arc itself kinda makes a point out of knocking gods off their golden throne, so maybe that was the point?
Oh, speaking of gold, woo boy, the Resurrection F arc. Way to miss an opportunity to expand on a film that desperately needed more time to explore its characters, then completely, well, we'd use the sound of a bowel movement here, but more classier than that.
But it's implied.
We won't discuss the huge technical problems that plague the arc and focus merely on the story, which, interestingly enough, works for Frieza here. I mean, more than the film did at least.
While the arc still suffers from the lack of tension that permeated the last half of its film, Frieza's cruel, vicious, and irredeemable nature is in full effect in Super. Between his merciless torture of Gohan, his brutal training regimen with Tagoma, and the murder of Piccolo, he feels a lot more like the bloodthirsty tyrant that we remember from the original. And speaking of Tagoma, Ginyu makes a return in a humorous, borderline brilliant manner that helps tie Super even deeper into the lore of the franchise.
But the actual episodes themselves are a slow plotting mess, stifled grievously by scheduling errors and behind-the-scenes frustration. So while the characterization of Frieza still ultimately rings true, the actual manner in which the story is told is just inexcusably poor. Luckily, the arc after it gives us a pretty hefty step up.
The Universe 6 tournament was the first real opportunity Super had taken to bombard us with new characters, ideas, and possibilities. While Beerus having a brother is a little cliche, the alternate universe brings a colorful and diverse cast of challengers with it, as well as the Super Dragon Balls, and a Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card monster.
With the exception of Frost and maybe Champa, none of these characters are really villains, though. The entire Universe 6 team are all decent guys in their own right, or at least we assume so much with Winnie the Pooh Bear over here, and none of them display much malice or evil intent during the entire tournament. They're more so challengers for our heroes to overcome.
Which is absolutely fine, as Champa's quest for Earth raises the stakes just high enough to keep the tensions up as the tournament unfolds. While the entire arc is a little up and down, it's rife with great character moments, some breathtaking animation, and opens the story up to almost endless possibilities. Also, we get to meet the Omni King. Jury's still out on whether or not that's a good or bad thing, but personally, I love the little shit.
Kaiser being wrong aside, he's right about the character moments. Piccolo getting the opportunity to prove his worth as a fighter was definitely appreciated, but it's a little frustrating that the win goes to Vegeta. Though, in its own right, his demonstration of character growth after letting Frieza blow up Earth by instantly one-shotting his Universe 6 counterpart is satisfying, and it also sets up for several more entertaining battles later.
Vegeta isn't the most fascinating character in the lineup, but his fight with Vegeta is full of turns and complications that forces Vegeta, the second strongest Universe 7 contender, to adapt rapidly as the odds are stacked against him. And the moments we get with Cabba are downright engrossing as they show legitimate, substantial growth for Vegeta, who adapts to the role of teacher with surprising yet believable ease.
Cabba's also a really interesting character, giving us hints at a reformed Saiyan race, who I hope we'll get to see more of. But the biggest contender here is obviously the Hitman himself, Hit. Unfortunately, though, the series only gives us a tiny glimpse into the character, who is lush with fascinating lore. His ability is deadly, his profession is exciting, his age and demeanor are imposing. But as Goku says, he doesn't have the opportunity to go all out.
But that doesn't mean the battles between Hit and Vegeta, and subsequently Goku, aren't spectacular, and the climax is pretty crazy. The manner in which Goku adapts to Hit's time skip technique is great to watch develop. And the reveal of Kaioken being combined with Super Saiyan was fulfilling for longtime fans who, as children, would wildly kick their feet as they watched on the couch yelling, "Use Kaioken as Super Saiyan! You'd kick his green ass!"
It's a spectacle to be sure, and gives us a breathtaking final battle for the arc. Oh, and Champa is there too, and Vados. They're okay. We'll see how they shake out in the multiverse tournament, but for now, they're essentially doppelgangers, though not without their own charms.
Which finally leads us to the Goku Black arc. Rocks fall, everyone dies. Good night, everybody!
Kaiser.
What? Look, let's just get this out of the way. Evil Goku is a dumb idea. But by God damn it, they actually managed to make Goku Black intimidating in every possible manner from his very first appearance. Descending from the clouds, shrouded in dust and debris, firing upon a tragically outgunned Trunks, and even murdering Bulma? It's powerful, it's entirely effective, and it sets the tone for the rest of the arc.
Grab a cushion, because I feel a butt coming.
But Zamasu, whatever. He's your run-of-the-mill tragic deity. He takes his role as protector of the cosmos seriously, to the point where he finds the mere concept of mortals repulsive and repugnant. Why would he allow imperfect creatures to attain power and control the world around them, when all they do is bring war, pollution, and destruction? His evolution into a Knights Templar-esque bringer of death and justice, then into a dark messiah, are not necessarily bad concepts.
But they require subtlety, depth, and careful staging for the villain to not just come off as completely egocentric and one-dimensional. While the concepts are certainly present, they're explicitly stated more than implicitly felt and conveyed through actions and the story. This character would have worked well if he had truly suffered for it or instead had been mocked more openly for his god complex, but it's difficult, nigh impossible, to identify with his cause for those already familiar with his archetype.
Yeah, if you're even slightly well-versed in literature, filmmaking, etc., you'll know that this character has been done better elsewhere. While it's cool to have a villain with a complex, morally gray motive steeped in the series lore, it falls apart along the way when the story becomes ridiculously convoluted, characters are inconsistently written, and new transformations start popping up with little to no explanation or acknowledgement.
Super Saiyan Rose has a great look to it, but it's never explained how it's achieved or why it's really any different. Trunks' power-up is also never fully explained, even though it's a huge turning point. Combining that with the other faux pas and oddities with the storytelling that padded the arc beyond an organic lifespan, and an ending that is still nigh infuriating.
And you're left with a complicated, frustrating arc. But even though we had a lot to complain about with Zamasu, he did have a lot of moments that were wholly entertaining in their own right. As well, some of the battles in the arc are some of the best the franchise has ever had to offer, and individual character moments throughout are both endearing and gratifying.
While Goku Black peters out near the end, his presence as a malicious, deadly Reaper is definitely more effective than Zamasu's god complex, and while the final boss ends up being a wash, it gives us the first time in the series where the main villain is not defeated by Goku or Gohan, outside of the movies.
To bring us to a close, Super is not a bad series. After the movie recaps, it's got plenty of wonderful moments that explore the characters we grew up with and has numerous opportunities to tell new stories with them. While we spend a lot of time here ragging on it, we want to acknowledge that it only gets us this fired up because there are legitimately enjoyable facets that keep us coming back.
Where the series can be a bit frustrating in its more grandiose moments, its down-to-earth, slice-of-life episodes have been fantastic. And when the series does nail the drama and action, it often provides superb and iconic character moments. There's plenty to enjoy in Super. You just have to be invested.
Nobody knows how the series will end outside of Toei Animation. Maybe. But it's got plenty of room to grow and plenty of places to go. With pretty monumental hints of a multiverse tournament coming up, there are just so many possibilities that lie ahead. We just hope they'll make sure to look where they've been before they take the next step forward.
Hey, did nobody bring up Jelly Vegeta?
Good night, everybody.